Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. Because it's still a quarantine, theaters are closed, we really can't go anywhere. Look at me, I'm the king of New York. And we did not mean to take this long.
Hiatuses are crazy, right, guys?
So, 3 months ago, was the last time we went to a movie theater.
Ever since, pretty much almost immediately after we went to go see Onward, everything went to shit and shut down.
So, we haven't been able to see any movies. So that's why this is the first episode in a while. But we're changing that
Yes.
because today we are seeing The King of Staten Island.
Yes, we was either this or Artemis Fowl, and we had plenty of canaries go into that coal mine and not come out. So
that's fine. So, Pete Davidson, he's a weird kind of guy to be on SNL, isn't he? It's kind of weird because he's not one of those guys who. Just the weird thing about him is he doesn't have characters, he doesn't have impressions, so sometimes you kind of wonder, why is he here? But then he does his weekend updated bits, and you're like, that's why he's here, okay.
Yes, he's got very funny stand-up, and but about 2 years ago, the entire world exploded with Pete Davidson because in his personal life, became attached to a very prominent person.
So when he started dating Ariana Grande, it was like if you found out that Adam Sandler, at the prime of his SNL days, started dating J-Lo.
Yeah. So around that time, obviously he became a big star, and so he became marketable. Thus, around that time, this film, which he co-wrote and executive produced and stars in, The King of Staten Island, was greenlit.
And who better to write and direct this movie than the guy who basically is like, I only know how to do one thing, and I am pretty good at doing it, Judd Apatow.
He has made a bunch of personal comedic stories, with whether it be Trainwreck with Amy Schumer or The Big Sick with Camille Nanjiani.
Pretty much every movie that Judd Apatow has had a prominent role in has been in some way personal to him or personal to the comedian that he's had fronting it. Like Funny People, This Is 40, Knocked Up. 40-Year-Old Virgin was probably the most weirdly 40-Year-Old Virgin and Walk Hard are probably the only ones that don't have any kind of personal connection to him or the comedian starring in it.
Yeah. But now, King of Staten Island, and it is kind of seems like his most grounded film, and it seems very serious based on subject matter, especially when you look at Pete Davidson's entire life story and hear the story of what happened in his childhood that made him kind of the messed up guy he is today.
Yes, and this movie is basically the story of, well, the way they describe it is this is what Pete Davidson's life would have been like if he hadn't been like, I'm kind of messed up, but I'm funny, so I can do this.
Yeah. So this is what they say is Pete Davidson before he found comedy, if he never found comedy, and thus we're now going to dive into this because it's just kind of interesting to see. We're not going to try to. I don't think we should really try to stretch this out that much because we really don't have much to talk about in this section.
Yeah. So see you after the jump. Bye. Okay, so guys, so the movie's over, and yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. I think it's Judd Apatow's best movie. Really,
it's not nearly as funny as you would probably expect it to be, considering that it's got a big SNL comedian and it's directed by Judd Apatow, the guy who has only really ever made comedies. But it's a dramedy with a lot of heart to it.
Yeah.
So let's just get into it. Pete Davidson's fantastic in this, but mostly because he lived it.
He's freaking killing it. He freaking killed it.
The whole.
It was like he's selling it on the silly levels. He's shown himself to be great. I can't wait to see what he's done. How's moving forward from here.
The funny thing is that he does a lot of stuff in this movie that a lot of people probably wouldn't be like, okay, so for my first movie, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and he does a lot of these really involved things. He's jumping over cars. He's getting in fist fights with Bill Burr. He's getting sprayed with like high pressure water and just shit like that.
There's a lot going on.
Stuff like that happens.
Bill Burr is really good in this. Marissa Tomei are really good in this. Everybody in this, the acting wise, is really good in this.
Yeah, the acting is really good in this. I think I think one of the things that I would say about it is I feel like it's a little too long.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. Definitely meanders a lot at the end of around the beginning of the second act.
Like there's a couple plot points that just kind of feel tacked on. There's this thing with his friends and this things with his thing with his friends in a drugstore that doesn't really do much to the plot other than be like a low point. But I feel like there's like 6 low points that they could use as it.
Yeah, there's also this. There's a bunch of points that they could kind of feels like they cut out. There's a lot of scenes that feels like there's some fat to trim. However, saying that, based on other Judd Apatow movies, there seems to be a lot less improving this time around, where it just doesn't feel like they're just going until they can make each other laugh.
If it is improv, then it's really well informed for the character improv because usually with the way Judd Apatow movies work, and this includes the movies that he's produced too, it's usually they'll establish like a point A in the scene, then they'll establish a point B, and then they'll just basically say, all right, now let's have the actors play before they get to point B.
Yeah, just let them go until that's usually how it at least seems to go with these movies. Is let's just give them something to go off of and go from there.
And in this one, it seems more like they were like, let's just have the script kind of drive the narrative. We'll have the actors kind of take it in all these directions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like that.
There's a lot of funny but there are a lot of funny moments. We get some pretty good jokes.
Pretty much I think the funniest moment in it involves a fight club in an Italian restaurant. That did not expect that to happen, and that was pretty hilarious every time it came back.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was at least one moment where it wasn't supposed to be a laugh, but Pete Davidson kind of sold it as a laugh, coming at because of the way he played it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hilarious, mostly because Pete is just as a performer is just kind of magnetic in how hilarious he is. Sometimes all he needs to do is literally he's just walked through a scene on Saturday Night Live and the entire crowd has laughed.
Yes, there's literally been one of the funniest moments in a scene is just him walking in the background of a scene.
And there were whole points in this where I was like, okay, he's really selling the millennial Adam Sandler vibe, isn't he? And yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, there's a thing in the beginning. Yeah, but there's also like these very emotional moments, quiet moments. Like there's a thing at the very beginning where he's driving and he closes his eyes, and it's like, wow, he's conveying a lot just from not saying or really doing anything.
Sandler waited until like a good decade into his career before he was like, okay, now I'm gonna make people I've made people laugh, now I'm gonna make people feel things. But Pete Davidson's like, I've done like maybe 4 movies in my life, so I'm just gonna make people feel shit now.
Yeah,
in this movie that I wrote specifically about my life.
In the very first movie I'm actually starring in, because this is like movie number 4 that I've ever period, and my next movie is a superhero movie because he's in the Suicide Squad next summer.
And there's a couple fun cameos like. Won't spoil one of the big ones at the end, but Machine Gun Kelly shows up because Pete Davidson has connections. It's kind of a pay it forward because Pete was in The Dirt and Machine Gun Kelly was Tommy Lee in that. So it's like, hey, dude, I did your movie. Why don't you do mine?
Yeah.
And so that's how that worked.
And they're like really good friends in real life. Like that's the biggest. Like, that's probably the biggest star he knows now after everything that went down 2 years ago.
When it comes to directing, it's basically a Judd Apatow movie. It's shot kind of like you would expect it. It's got a lot of just still shooting. It's kind of with the occasional idea handheld scenes just so that it's going to be kind of like let's just see where, just so it can be like, let's just point the camera at these funny people and see where it goes.
Like it's competently made, like it's a competently made movie because he knows his way around. But the entire thing comes on, but also it is really Judd Apatow's most grounded, realistic movie that I think we've had.
Like a lot of even some of the more here's more locked down Judd Apatow movies do have some cartoony moments in them.
Like Knocked Up or This Is 40 had their moments. I think kind of tonally this seems very similar to Funny People,
where it's like funny people, except the age is 24 instead of late 40s.
Yeah, and being so close in age to Pete Davidson ourselves, the movie kind of relates. I think we come out of this movie enjoying it a little bit, relating to it a little bit more.
And like we said, Pete Davidson is kind of funny, and the whole thing about Pete Davidson is just like I said, he doesn't on Saturday Night Live. He doesn't do impressions. He doesn't do characters. It's just basically he shows up. He does like a scene. He just plays a character who just happens to match him in background, and then and that's where he'll get the funny, because he's not a stand-up comic who goes around doing. He's not like Andy Samberg or Jason Sudeikis or a Robin Williams or anything, or an Adam Sandler, where he's like, I'm going to go on stage and I'm going to do funny voices and celebrity impressions and have a long list of characters that people will latch onto. It's like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to air my dirty laundry and see if I can actually spin it and make people laugh.
Yeah, and it works. And here it definitely works. All right.
What else? The music selection was pretty good. There's a lot of fun songs in there. There's a baseball scene that uses a John Fogerty song that's not the one that's always in every baseball scene.
Yeah.
So that's a nice little change of pace there.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff about this. I think if you saw the trailer and thought you would enjoy it, I think you're gonna get a pretty good enjoyment out of it. But I really don't have much else to say. It's very basic.
It's kind of it's kind of fun that Steve Buscemi is here, if only because so that people can pull out the trivia fact that, hey, Steve Buscemi used to be a firefighter.
Steve Buscemi was an actual New York firefighter. He was on 9/11.
He actually went back to his old firehouse in Little Italy on 9/11 to help dig through the rubble.
He was there. He actually reported to duty on 9/11. But yeah, that's
it. And it's one of those, and there is kind of moments where it is kind of pulling the narrative of, hey, this movie's about a guy whose dad was a firefighter. Pete Davidson's father was a firefighter. So how about we make a whole scene in the movie that's just basically, here's a bunch of firefighters doing their jobs competently, and so that everyone can feel good about celebrating firefighters for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well done. It's probably one of the best. It's probably one of the most not comedic things that Judd Apatow shot. Yeah. And it's fun. Like I said, it's a little too. The movie's a little too long in places where where I feel like they could have cut it off. I feel like there's a few subplots they could have cut or moved around a little bit, but.
There's some fat to trim, but otherwise it's solid. It's competently made. It works on a lot of levels.
There's a lot of there's a lot of funny pieces. Pete Davidson is actually a really good actor, considering the fact that he's built his whole brand around being the unstable funny guy.
Yeah.
So but can't really say that we can't. Really, I mean, it's good. It's good. It's not like groundbreaking. It's not like I'm suddenly like, oh, Pete Davidson wins all the Oscars.
Although it would be interesting to see him get nominated if this does get nominated. Seeing as not a lot of movies aren't getting pushed around and everything.
Yeah, so I don't think it's Oscar worthy, but if it was it would be interesting if it was nominated, just simply for the fact that not a lot is that even with the rule changes that they're putting into the Academy this year to make up for the fact that not a lot of movies are going to be put out around what's typically Oscar season, or at least not a lot of Oscar movies are going to be coming around that time.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, not saying that if we end up being right and it gets nominated for an Oscar, then it's gonna be like, how the fuck did that happen? And it's gonna be less Nostradamus and more, how the fuck did that happen?
But yeah, there's not much else to say.
It's a really good movie. It's about average Judd Apatow with a lot more emotional drama than most other ones.
Yeah.
So I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to tune in next time when hopefully we'll be going back to an actual movie theater.
We don't know, because as of today, we got more movies more release dates moved around. So, but hopefully, we will be going back to a movie theater very soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.